it was my mother's version of like being like, I'm leaving home and I'm going to go out on my own. She broke out on her own and took a job in Denver, but she was very homesick, and for the whole time she was there, she tried to get back to Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. And I kind of repeated, when I was finished college here in Pittsburgh, I went out to Albuquerque and I did about 5 years out there. Wow. And so that was a little piece of my history, is that I lived there for a while and then I came back to Pittsburgh.
Wow, Albuquerque. Do you go to college there, mm-hmm. or was it like a post-college, let's see where I can live kind of thing?
Yes.
Let's see where I can survive.
I desperately wanted to get away from Pittsburgh, and I had been on some road trips, and every year in the summer when I was in college here in Pittsburgh, I went on road trips, and gas was cheap then, and you just stay in national parks and you eat out of cans, and I just love New Mexico. There just was so many different types of, there's like big giant ponderosa pine forests, there was canyons, there was hot springs, there was like just white sands, a big variety of landscapes out there. And Albuquerque was kind of comparable cost of living city to Pittsburgh, and I wasn't expecting to really have much money, so I convinced some of my friends to move out there with me right after college ended. And one of them stayed for a year, and the other two only were there for like 6 months, but I stayed for 5 years.
Oh, wow. All right. Die Hard. I like it. it. You made it. Did you do, have you been doing theater your whole, since you were in high school or college? Did you do it in Albuquerque?
Oh, well, no, I did try to do some theater stuff in high school. I was in line for some big part, and some other girl got it, and they said I could be one of the background people, and I think I was like, no, that takes too much time. So I didn't end up doing any high school theater. And then when I went out to Albuquerque, one of my personal goals was just to kind of figure out what I wanted to do and kind of find my own art. And so I dabbled around. I had a guitar, and I bought paints and would try painting. I really was trying to find a creative outlet. And there's a group out there called the Pajama Men. Actually, Albuquerque is a really nice little city, and there's a coffee shop that was owned by people who also owned a little theater. And in the theater they did this kind of Russian type of theater that was based off of kind of improvisational dance. And the Drama Men and those two guys improvised together and then would develop a script together based off of their improv, and they would have comedy shows. And I just loved watching them. They would do all their writing in the coffee shop, and I would go see their shows, and I became a big fangirl, and I started learning a little bit more about improv, but I couldn't find any improv at the time in Albuquerque. And somebody pointed out that I should buy Truth and Comedy, and then I kind of just, when I moved back to Pittsburgh, and I started just trying to force people who I knew from college who seemed mildly gregarious to do some of these Truth and Comedy games with me. And
that's so awesome.
Which was weird, but then pretty quickly after that, one of my friends told me that a new theater was going to be in town. And so right around when I moved back to Pittsburgh, that's when there was this buildup of theaters and people starting to be interested in improv in Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's awesome. So when you got back to Pittsburgh, it was just kicking off the improv boom? Because I know, at least from talking to Brian and a few other people from Pittsburgh, that there's just so much right now. So when you came back, it was just kicking off?
Yes, there's a theater called the Steel City Improv Theater that, some of these people that try to do these improv games with me definitely, were some of my best friends, but definitely are no, I don't want to do that. They're quieter people, and I'm their bossy friend that's trying to shake up the energy, play games with me. And one of them found a postcard for a new theater in town, and she gave me that postcard, and I think I joined one of their first level 1 classes, and I actually met Brian in that class, although he had been doing improv for a while before then.
Oh.
But,
what's the name of this theater again that you did your first class at?
Steel City.
Steel City Improv Theater.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought
no,
that's what you said.
Yeah, they talked about, or Brian talked about that.
Yeah, that's so great. Awesome. So the boom just started. It was almost like you needed to go to Albuquerque to learn stuff and then bring it back because everybody was all ready to go as soon as you returned.
Open to receive.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's definitely how it felt. I felt like, I couldn't keep trying to make my friends play make-believe games with me. Or, I really was trying to find some type of creative outlet. And I love writing, and I was writing, but like the energy you get from like co-creating, as you know, was really exhilarating. And so I got back here and there were these classes, and then I started to meet people who also signed up to play those games,
Yeah, I've taught enough corporate workshops to know that improv works better with people who want to do it.
Yeah.
Than people who are being forced.
Yeah. Yeah. You try to finesse with them, like find some way to trick them into liking it.
Awesome.
It's hard.
So 5 years after college, you go back to Pittsburgh. You've had your Albuquerque adventure and learned from the Pajama Men. Oh, I had a question about them. You mentioned that they were like writing their shows based on the improv. Did they do 2 separate shows? Did they do like an improv show and then a show that was sketch based on the improv? So like you could see both shows and see how it developed, or?
Well, they would like, I don't know, this timeline's not going to be correct, but so say maybe in the fall, they would have a run of improv shows you can go watch. And then maybe by the spring, they would have kept writing or like sourcing from that material and developing things together so that maybe by the spring they have a show. And their shows they're just they're 2 guys, and they are in their pajamas, and then they just kind of seamlessly they play multiple characters, and like you would in an improv show, but they seamlessly go through all these different characters and scenes and take you on about an hour and a half show. And they were pretty remarkable.
That's
and
so awesome.
Very inspiring. Yeah, they're pretty successful now, I guess. They're in they perform at Fringe festivals and win all these awards, and they perform in Australia, and they go on tour around the country. So they're doing well for themselves.
Oh, that's pretty great. Do you know what their home theater was in Albuquerque?
I believe it's called the Tricklock Theater.
The Tricklock Theater.
So you're telling me I don't have to put on pants to do improv?
Pajamas or pants?
I guess, but not always. Not
well,
always.
I want to see you doing a
rules that come along.
Yeah, I want to see you in a dressing gown.
I have onesies.
I want to see it.
Yeah, like an Ebenezer Scrooge style, just like candle on a plate with a weird cap kind of thing.
Yeah, I would love if that's how you slept. That would be a hilarious realization to find out that you had a dressing gown and a cap.
I have no problem. You know what? I never have slept in a gown, but I don't think I'd hate it. I think I would enjoy sleeping in a
Christmas gift for Wendell.
Yeah, creepy old man gown.
Yeah, you get
Who's
you get
there?
tangled up if you're in a gown.
It is tough.
Like you can, just like you can if you wrapped yourself in a sheet.
Oh.
Doesn't that
If you're a
sound great?
If you're a twisty sleeper, you have to be careful.
Sometimes more sheets sounds like a good thing.
All those sleeping togas that are so popular these days.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
so
God.
it definitely is the Tricklock Theater.
Tricklock Theater, cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
they're and then the owners of it, they just recently sold their coffee shop to make it a cooperative for the workers to own.
Oh.
But that coffee shop, Winning's Coffee Shop in Albuquerque, that was my living room in Albuquerque. Basically, anybody who, it's kind of like a hippie-ish spot, but it's really big, and it had 2 big rooms, and you could just go there and, like, I met most of my friends there. I was doing graduate school at the time, or just writing, and I would just go, and if I was lonely, I'd just go there, and you see somebody you knew, and they cultivated a really nice, creative space, I'd say, that for that coffee shop. But now they're like really focusing on their theater.
That's awesome. So cool. What were you getting your graduate degree in?
I got my graduate degree in language, literacy, and sociocultural studies.
Oh.
And basically what had happened was I moved out to Albuquerque, and I was feeling a little bit like I need to legitimize this somehow, like have a good excuse for being so far away from my family. And there's not too many programs in the country who have that specific program, like for too many schools who have that language, literacy, and sociocultural study. And I was really interested in the ways that like literacy and education are related to social justice issues. And I also was interested in kind of avoiding finding a career right away. So I kind of was always like, I'm probably going to be a teacher. Oh, wait, here's a way to intellectualize becoming a teacher. I was also very interested in it, just how like literacy learning is connected with like these issues of equality and stuff. So
dude, I love
studied that while I was out there.
That's nice. You could you don't have to do the grunt work of the teaching. You can just go give TED Talks and speeches on what it is to be a teacher. That's so cool.
Well, I definitely was young, and a lot of the people in the program were like definitely teachers who were like, I'm going to go to grad school and like, you know, they're interested in it, but they also could boost their like, you know, they'd get a master's, you get paid a little bit more. And so I probably wasn't taken as seriously as I wanted to be, just because I didn't have that legitimacy of having taught yet. But
how
whatever.
Fascinating is that? Like, most people's experience is like they go to like grad school right after, you know, undergrad, and then all the people in the graduate school are in their like early 20s, and then that like one guy in his 40s who decided to go back is weird. And in this scenario, you're the younger person and you're the odd man out. How unusual and interesting. What an experience for you.
Well, I'm really glad I'm glad I did it, you know, I don't know. I'm glad I did it mostly because it helped me definitely stay out there longer and try to like build my own, like really explore who I was on my own without like the pressure of family or, you know, your old identity. It's kind of like that old, you know, going to the West to find yourself idea. It's kind of one reason why I'm really glad I studied it.
That is something East
totally
Coasters
understand.
have. That is something East Coasters are just like, I bet my life is somewhere out west. That's what I remember telling myself that too.
Yeah, I'm from Boston and Wendell's from South Carolina, so we both went west.
Okay.
We both went west looking for adventure way after there was like real adventure. Like 200 years after that was like the common thought.
Well, I didn't want to be on the Oregon Trail or anything like that. I don't want to be in a covered wagon.
Stake my claim, and all the claims are staked.
Every claim is staked.
Yeah, it's super staked out here.
Yeah. By the time Wendell and I at separate times moved to Austin, everybody in Austin was like, "Oh, everything was cooler before.
Welcome.
We don't want you here. Why are you here?"
So glad.
When did you get there?
I got here 5 years ago.
Yeah,
Amy was here.
I've been here maybe 8-9 years ago. But yeah, even then,
nobody has been happy about people showing up to Austin in Austin.
I was even there before you guys.
Oh, Yeah, even she's cool.
That's why there's no more claims to stake.
So cool.
I just visited like once or twice, that's all.
But you went in and you were like, I know what keeping Austin weird means. Now here it's just like, hey man, do you want to get a coffee at a place that's not Starbucks? Super weird.
Super hard. Super difficult.
Sometimes.
I really like Austin though. I mean, at least you get, I don't know, I don't want to say it reminds me of Pittsburgh.